The alien woman aimed her weapon, but a little girl said, "This is my father." Kira of the Xenoth species stood on Earth soil for the first time, her purple skin gleaming under the pale moonlight, her 4 eyes scanning the area for threats. The invasion was going according to plan, and she had been tasked with securing this small rural town in the northern region of what humans called America. The Xenoth High Command had chosen this location for its isolation and strategic value, close enough to major population centers but remote enough to establish a foothold without immediate detection. Kira was among the first wave of scouts sent to assess human resistance capabilities and capture specimens, for study humans were primitive compared to her kind. They had barely reached space travel, while the Xenoth had conquered 3 galaxies over thousands of years of expansion. But intelligence reports warned that humans were resourceful and dangerous when cornered, so Kira kept her plasma rifle ready as she moved through the silent streets. The air felt strange in her lungs, heavier and richer than the processed atmosphere of the Xenoth homeworld. Scents of vegetation and soil filled her sensory membranes, creating an odd sensation of connection to this alien planet. The sky above was cluttered with stars arranged in unfamiliar patterns, nothing like the orderly constellations she had grown up studying. Kira checked her scanner again, the device humming softly as it detected life signs nearby. Most citizens had fled when the first ships appeared in the sky, their exodus creating chaos on the highways leading from town. But her scanner indicated that not everyone had left. At least 3 human life forms remained within her search grid. She moved silently through the abandoned streets, her specialized boots making no sound on the concrete. Houses stood like dark shells, their windows reflecting the stars above. Many doors hung open, evidence of hasty departures. Items lay scattered on lawns, toys, articles of clothing, bags of food, all abandoned in the rush to escape. The Xenoth invasion plan had been meticulously designed over decades of covert observation. The Species Assessment Council had determined that humans were a Level 3 civilization, technically advanced enough to pose a threat, but still divided enough to conquer. Their tendency toward conflict among themselves made them ideal candidates for benevolent subjugation, at least according to the official mission briefing. Kira had never questioned these assessments. Her life had been devoted to military service since early development training. From her first conscious moments, she had been taught that the expansion of the Xenoth Empire was the highest, calling that bringing order to chaotic species was an act of cosmic mercy. Humans needed guidance, they needed structure, and the Xenoth would provide it. The scanner led her to a small house at the end of a quiet street with a swing set in the yard, and colorful flowers wilting in the garden. A primitive ground vehicle sat in the driveway, its engine cold. According to her briefing, humans relied on these inefficient combustion machines for transportation, a wasteful technology the Xenoth would soon replace. Kira approached cautiously. Her rifle pointed forward as she pushed open the unlocked door. The interior was dark, but her enhanced vision allowed her to see clearly. A dwelling space filled with soft furniture and primitive entertainment. Devices, a food preparation area with appliances that seemed hopelessly outdated. And somewhere inside, 3 humans who had failed to escape. She heard movement coming from the back room. Quiet voices speaking in hushed tones. Kira recognized the sound. Patterns as the primary human language, English. Her neural implant automatically translating as she listened. "She needs more medicine, the fever is getting worse." I know. But the roads are blocked. We can't get through." Kira crept forward, her finger hovering over the trigger, ready to fire a stun blast. Her orders were clear: capture humans for study, but avoid permanent damage. Valuable data could be extracted only from living specimens. She reached the doorway of what appeared to be a sleeping chamber. Inside, she found a human male kneeling beside a bed where a small human child lay. A female adult stood nearby holding some kind of container. The male had his back to Kira and was whispering something to the child, words of comfort based on the tone. Kira raised her weapon and made the standard announcement as she had been trained. "Citizens of Earth, you are now under the protection of the Xenoth Empire. Do not resist." The adults froze. The female dropped the container with a clatter, water spilling across the floor. The male turned slowly, his hands raised, showing he was unarmed. He was tall for a human with kind eyes that showed no fear, only calm determination. The child on the bed appeared sick with flushed skin and labored, breathing. "Please," the man said, his voice steady. "We don't want any trouble. My daughter is very ill. She needs medical attention." The woman moved closer to the bed, placing herself between Kira and the child. Her protective stance reminded Kira of the nurturing units in the Xenoth development centers, though those were clinical and detached, nothing like the fierce emotion radiating from this human female. The alien woman aimed her weapon, but the little girl said, "This is my father. He was helping me. I feel sick." Something about the child's voice made Kira hesitate. Unlike the adults she had encountered during the invasion who screamed or begged, this small human spoke with simple honesty, her eyes meeting Kira's, all four of them, without flinching. "I'm Lily," she said, "and this is my father, Jack. He is a doctor. He makes people better. Are you sick too? Is that why your skin is purple? And why do you have 4 eyes? Is that so you can see more things at once?" Kira did not lower her weapon, but she felt something strange happening inside her chest, a feeling she had never experienced during her military training. The child Lily was looking at her not as an enemy, but with curiosity, as though Kira were simply another person, albeit an unusual one. "Your father is coming with me," Kira said it is protocol. "All medical professionals are to be processed at the central facility." She did not mention that doctors were especially valuable for understanding human physiology. "But I need him. Lily said I have fever and he gives me medicine." The little girl coughed weakly, and the man Jack looked at Kira with pleading eyes. "Please," he said. "She has pneumonia. Without treatment, she could die. I can't leave her." The woman, who Kira now realized must be the mother, spoke up, her voice trembling but determined. "You can take me instead. Just let him stay with Lily." Kira was trained to ignore such appeals. Humans were known to use emotion as a weapon, but as she looked at the sick child, she remembered her own parent. Units, how they had cared for her during her early development phase before military service began. It had been brief by Xenoth standards, just 2 cycles before she was transferred to the training facilities, but she still recalled the gentle touches, the soft words. "This is not a negotiation," Kira said, but her voice lacked conviction. She glanced at her scanner again, examining the child's life signs. The readings were concerning elevated temperature, irregular breathing patterns, decreased immune response. The human Jack was right. The child was seriously ill. The mother moved closer to Kira, surprising her with her boldness. "You're a female too," she said. "I can tell somehow. Do you have children? Do your people care for their young?" The question caught Kira off guard. "No," she said, "I am a soldier. Reproduction is not my function, but you were a child once," the woman pressed. "Did someone care for you when you were sick?" Images flashed through Kira's mind, her first fever, her parent unit staying beside, her applying cooling treatments throughout the night cycle, singing ancient Xenoth melodies to comfort her. It had been so long since she had accessed these memory files. "I need to check," her Kira said, suddenly surprising herself. She placed her rifle on the floor and approached the bed, her medical scanner humming as she passed it over the child. The readings confirmed what the father had said. Pneumonia, a serious infection of the breathing organs. Lily did not shrink away as Kira examined her. Instead, she reached out one tiny hand toward Kira's face. The alien woman froze, uncertain how to respond to this gesture. "Your skin feels nice," Lily said. "Like velvet. My doll has a velvet dress." Jack watched carefully, ready to protect his daughter, but something in the alien woman's demeanor had changed. Her posture was less threatening. Her lower eyes had softened. The mother, whose name Kira learned was Kate, stood nearby, still wary, but no longer terrified. She watched as Kira continued to examine her daughter. "I have medicine," Kira said, finally reaching into her pack and removing a small silver device. "This will help the infection." It was meant for emergency use, only part of every scout's standard equipment, but the situation seemed to qualify Jack. "Looks suspicious. Why would you help us?" Kira considered the question. It went against her mission parameters, against everything she had been taught about humans during her training. But the evidence before her contradicted those teachings. This family was not violent or chaotic. They were simply trying to survive to care for their young, just as any Xenoth would, because she is a child. She is innocent, she said, and you are caring for her, not fighting, not fleeing, just protecting her. That is something we share. She pressed the device against Lily's arm, a gentle hiss as the medicine entered the girl's system. Within moments, her breathing eased, the flush in her cheeks began to fade. Jack watched in amazement as his daughter's condition improved rapidly. Lily smiled at Kira. Thank you, Purple Lady. Something broke inside Kira in that moment, a lifetime of propaganda and military conditioning, shattered by 3 simple words from a human. Kira left the house, her mind racing with conflicting thoughts. The family watched from the doorway as she disappeared into the darkness of the human night. Her training told her to report them to capture this doctor and bring him to the processing center, but something deeper, something she could not name, prevented her from following protocol. She activated her cloaking shield, becoming invisible to human eyes, and moved through the empty streets toward the edge of town, where her scout ship waited. The cool night air carried strange scents, plants, animals, water, all different from her homeworld, but somehow comforting in their organic simplicity. Her communication device chimed softly, a message from her command unit. Status report. Scout. K437. The metallic voice demanded. Have you secured any human specimens? Kira hesitated, her 4 fingers hovering over the response button. Negative, she replied finally. Sector 7 appears to be completely evacuated. Continuing search pattern. The lie felt strange on her transmitter. She had never before failed to follow orders in her entire service career. But the image of the sick child Lily and her protective parents remained fixed in her mind, challenging everything she had been taught about humans. She reached her scout ship, a sleek vessel concealed within a stand of tall trees. Its organic exterior mimicked the surrounding vegetation, making it nearly impossible for human detection systems to identify. The entry hatch recognized her biometric signature and slid open silently. Inside the ship, Kira removed her tactical gear and sat in the command seat. Her personal log required updating, but what could she record? The truth would mean immediate recall and reconditioning. A false report went against her core programming. But something had changed within her. Something fundamental. She began the standard entry. Scout K437 Day. 1 of Earth reconnaissance. Sector 7 appears abandoned following initial alert. Primary objective of securing human specimens unsuccessful. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. Will expand search radius in next cycle. Requesting permission to investigate nearby medical facility. Possible location of multiple human subjects. The ship computer processed her report and transmitted it to the command vessel in orbit above Earth. Kira knew her request would likely be approved. Medical facilities were high-priority targets in the invasion plan. Human doctors and their knowledge were valuable resources to be captured. As she waited for a response, Kira accessed the ship's database, searching for information about human illness, specifically the condition called pneumonia. The data was surprisingly extensive. Xenoth intelligence had been studying Earth for decades, collecting information about human biology, society, culture, and technology. The pneumonia infection attacked human respiratory systems, causing inflammation fluid, buildup, and breathing difficulty without treatment. It could be fatal, especially in young humans or those with compromised immune systems. The medicine Kira had administered contained nanobots, programmed to eliminate the infection completely. Lily would recover fully within hours. The ship's communication system chimed with an incoming message: request approved. Scout K437. Proceed to medical facility, coordinates attached, capture priority subjects and transport to processing center. Alpha Kira acknowledged the order and began pre-flight preparations, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought about Jack and Kate and their dedication to their daughter, how they had stood together against an alien invader, armed with only courage and love. That kind of bond was rare among the Xenoth, where reproduction was clinically managed and offspring were raised in development centers. The scout ship lifted off silently, its anti-gravity drives creating barely a ripple in the air as it rose above the trees. Kira set course not for the medical facility as ordered, but for a location several miles outside town, a wooded area near a lake where she could think without interference. As the ship settled into its new hiding place, Kira stepped outside again. She needed to feel the earth beneath her feet, to breathe its air, to understand why these humans affected her so deeply. The forest around her teemed with life. Small creatures moving through underbrush, insects buzzing in complex patterns, trees swaying in the gentle breeze, all chaotic by Xenoth standards, but somehow harmonious. Decision was forming in her mind, one that would change everything. She could not continue with this mission, not after what she had witnessed. But what alternatives existed? A Xenoth soldier who questioned orders faced severe consequences. Isolation, neurological adjustment, or worse. And yet the thought of participating in the subjugation of beings like Jack, Kate, and Lily filled her with a feeling she recognized as wrongness. Kira sat beside the lake, watching moonlight reflect off its surface. Something about this planet spoke to her in ways her homeworld never had. Perhaps it was the diversity of life, the beautiful disorder of natural evolution, instead of the engineered perfection of Xenoth environments. Or perhaps it was the humans themselves, their capacity for both terrible destruction and profound compassion. Dawn was approaching when Kira made her decision. She would return to the family, warn them of what was coming, and then what? The question hung in her mind, unanswered. As she reactivated her ship and set course back toward town, the house looked different in the early morning light, more vibrant somehow with its colorful garden and cheerful exterior. Kira approached cautiously, her scanner confirming that the three humans remained inside. Their life signs were stable, the child Lily showing marked improvement after the treatment. Kira knocked on the door, a human custom she had studied but never performed. The sound seemed impossibly loud in the quiet morning air. She waited, her hearts beating rapidly in her chest, until the door opened, revealing Jack, his expression changing from fear to recognition. "You came back," he said simply. "Yes," Kira responded. "I came to warn you. More of my kind will be here soon. You all must leave." Jack nodded as if he had expected this. He gestured for her to enter. The inside of the house looked different as well. Kira noticed details she had missed in the darkness. Pictures on walls showing the family in various locations. Decorative. Items with no apparent function but pleasing to look at. Soft furnishings arranged for comfort, rather than efficiency. Kate was in the kitchen area preparing something that released appetizing aromas into the air. Lily sat at a table, her color much improved, eating from a bowl. She smiled when she saw Kira, her small face lighting up. "Purple lady," she exclaimed. "You came back." Kate turned, her expression guarded but not hostile. "Thank you," she said simply, "for helping our daughter." The gratitude felt strange to Kira, unearned somehow. "I need to tell you something," she said. "There are more ships coming. The invasion force. I was just the first wave. They will search house by house. They will find you." Jack and Kate exchanged glances. "We figured as much," Jack said. "That's why we're packing to leave." He gestured to several containers near the door, already filled with supplies. "But the roads are blocked by military checkpoints. We don't know how to get past the military." Kira asked. "Your soldiers are trying to stop you." "Not us," Kate explained. "They're trying to stop people from going back into the quarantine zone. They evacuated most of the town when your ships were first spotted, but we couldn't move. Lily not with her fever. So we stayed." Hidden, Kira processed. This information, human authorities had established containment around affected areas, a logical response, but one that now trapped this family. "I can help you get past them," she said. "My ship can transport you beyond the quarantine zone." The offer surprised even her as the words left her mouth. She was now actively working against the invasion, planning to transport humans to safety, using Xenoth military equipment. If discovered, the consequences would be severe. "Why would you help us?" Jack asked the question, She'd been asking herself. Kira looked at Lily, who was watching her with curious, innocent eyes. Because what we're doing is wrong, she said finally. Your species is not what we were told. You're not just violent primitives to be controlled. You're people, with families and love and courage. Kate approached slowly. What will happen to you if you help us? Kira had not considered her own fate, focusing only on the immediate problem. If I am discovered, I will face reconditioning or termination, she admitted. But I cannot participate in this invasion, not anymore, not after meeting you. Something passed between Jack and Kate, a silent communication. Kira could not interpret. Then Jack spoke. We're not leaving without you. The statement confused Kira. What do you mean? If helping us puts you in danger, then you come with us, Kate explained. You saved our daughter. We won't leave you behind to be punished. The offer stunned Kira. These humans would risk their safety for her, an alien invader. It defied all logic, all military strategy. Yet she recognized the same protective instinct she had witnessed between them and their child. Extended now to include her. My ship can only transport 4 people, maximum, she said, thinking practically. It has limited cloaking, capability enough to avoid basic detection but not sophisticated scanning. 4 people, Jack said. You make 4, we're going together. Lily clapped her hands happily. Purple Lady is coming with us. The decision was made so simply, without debate or analysis. So unlike the complex hierarchical decision trees of Xenoth Command, Kira felt something inside her shift. Something fundamental, as if a weight had been lifted. We need to leave immediately, she said. Before the main invasion force arrives. Where would you go if you could go anywhere? The scout ship glided silently through the morning sky, keeping low to avoid detection. Kira engaged the advanced cloaking system, making the vessel invisible to both human and Xenoth scanning technology. The landscape below changed gradually, from suburban developments to farmland, then to increasingly rugged terrain as they headed west toward the mountains. Inside the ship, Lily had fallen asleep, curled against her mother. The medicine Kira had given her was working efficiently, the nanobots, eliminating the infection and repairing damaged tissue. Kate stroked her daughter's hair gently, her eyes occasionally meeting Kira's with quiet gratitude. Jack sat in the secondary position beside Kira, studying the ship's controls with fascination. He had explained that he was a doctor specializing in respiratory medicine, which was why he had been able to diagnose Lily's pneumonia so accurately. His knowledge of human physiology interested Kira, who had only studied theoretical models during her training. Your technology is incredible, he said quietly, careful not to wake Lily. The way this ship responds, almost like it's reading your thoughts. It is in a way, Kira explained. The control system links partially with my neural pathways. All Xenoth technology incorporates this connection. It's why no human could pilot this vessel without significant modifications. Jack nodded thoughtfully. Tell me about your world, he asked. Your people. How did you become what you are? The question was complex. Kira had never needed to explain Xenoth culture to an outsider. Indeed, such conversations with conquered species were forbidden. But these humans were no longer subjects for conquest. They were her companions, perhaps even her friends. The Xenoth evolved. On a world with 3 suns, she began. Our planet. Xenotha orbits the primary sun but is influenced by 2 others, creating complex gravitational patterns and extreme environmental conditions. To survive, we developed heightened senses, including multispectral vision. Hence the 4 eyes and adaptive physiological responses. Kate had moved closer, listening intently as Lily continued to sleep. Our society is structured around efficiency and purpose. Kira continued. Each Xenoth is assessed in early development and assigned to a functional category: military, scientific, governmental, reproductive, or maintenance. Those categories determine everything: education, living arrangements, reproductive permissions, even lifespan. That sounds so rigid, Kate said. How can anyone be happy in such a system? Happiness is not a priority, Kira admitted. Service to the collective is what matters. Individual satisfaction is considered irrelevant compared to species advancement. She paused, realizing how strange these words sounded now, how empty. At least that's what we are taught. And you were assigned to the military. Jack observed. Yes. Kira confirmed. My genetic profile and early testing showed aptitude for tactical analysis and physical resilience. I was removed from parent units at second cycle, what you would call 2 years old, and placed in military development. From that point, my life was predetermined. Lily stirred briefly in her sleep, murmuring something incomprehensible. Kate soothed her automatically, the gesture so natural and loving that Kira felt a strange ache watching them. Did you ever question it? Jack asked. Your assignment? Your purpose? Never, Kira said. Until now. She checked the navigation system. They were approaching the coordinates. Kate had provided the mountains rose majestically ahead, their peaks capped with snow despite the summer season. Below, forests stretched in all directions, broken occasionally by meadows or small lakes. It was beautiful, wild and untamed. Nothing like the precisely managed environments of Zenotha. The ship detected a small structure nestled in a valley surrounded by pine trees, a cabin built of wood with a stone chimney, a primitive dwelling by Xenoth standards but somehow appealing in its simplicities. That it, Kira asked, displaying the image on the main viewer. Yes, Kate confirmed excitedly. That's Mary's cabin, my sister. We spent summers there as children. She moved there permanently 5 years ago after her husband died. Says she prefers the company of deer and eagles to people. She won't mind us bringing an alien house guest. She always did love science fiction. Kira scanned the area for signs of surveillance or weapons, finding nothing but natural life forms. The cabin appeared to be truly isolated, as Kate had claimed, perfect for hiding from both human authorities and Xenoth invasion forces. The ship descended carefully into a small clearing near the cabin, its organic exterior shifting color to match the surrounding forest. Once landed, it would be nearly invisible among the trees. The landing was smooth, barely disturbing the grass beneath them. As the hatch opened, fresh mountain air filled the ship, scents of pine sap, wildflowers, and clean water. Kira had never experienced anything like it. Xenoth environments were strictly controlled atmospheric content regulated for optimal functionality. This wild natural air felt almost intoxicating. Jack carried the still sleeping Lily while Kate gathered their most essential supplies. Kira secured the ship, activating its defense protocols and self-camouflage. Once they were a few meters away, the vessel seemed to disappear, becoming just another feature of the forest landscape. They approached the cabin cautiously, Kate leading. The way a wooden porch wrapped around the front with chairs positioned to view the valley below. Wind chimes made of metal tubes and small crystals created gentle music in the breeze. Flower boxes hung from railings filled with colorful blooms. Kate knocked on the door, calling out, "Mary, it's me, Kate." "We need help." Moments passed before the door opened, revealing a human female similar to Kate in features, but older, with silver streaks in her hair and lines around her eyes that deepened as she smiled. With surprise, she exclaimed, "What are you doing here?" The town was evacuated on the news, they said. Her words stopped abruptly as she noticed Kira standing behind the family. Her eyes widened, her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Mary Kate said, quickly, "This is Kira. She's our friend. She saved Lily. She needs shelter just like we do." Mary looked from Kate to Jack to the sleeping Lily, and finally back to Kira. For several heartbeats she stood frozen, then surprisingly, she laughed. "Well," she said, "I'm guessing there's one hell of a story here. Come in, all of you, before someone sees our purple friend." The interior of the cabin was warm and inviting. A large open room with wooden furniture, colorful woven rugs, and walls lined with books. A stone fireplace dominated one wall with a small fire burning despite the summer season. "The mountains got cold at night," Mary explained as she showed them inside. Jack placed Lily on a couch, covering her with a blanket Mary found in a wooden chest. He continued to sleep peacefully, her breathing now completely normal, thanks to the Xenoth medicine. "So," Mary said, sitting in a chair across from them, Aliens, huh? She didn't seem frightened, merely curious. I'd always wondered if we were alone in the universe. Turns out we're not. And they're purple with 4 eyes, who would have thought? Her calm acceptance surprised Kira. Most humans encountered during the initial invasion had responded with terror or hostility. You're not afraid, Kira observed. Mary shrugged. I've lived alone in these mountains for 5 years now. She said, learned that most things that seem scary at first are just different, not dangerous. She studied Kira with interest. Besides, any being who saves my niece's life gets the benefit of the doubt. In my book, Kate quickly explained what had happened. Lily's illness, the invasion, Kira's intervention, and their escape. Mary listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or glancing at Kira with increasing respect. And the invasion, Jack concluded, is just beginning. More ships are coming. Thousands of them. According to Kira, Mary absorbed this information, then rose and moved to a cabinet, returning with a bottle and glasses. Anyone want a drink? She offered. Seems like the appropriate response. To an alien invasion, Kate accepted a small amount of the amber liquid. Jack declined, explaining he needed to monitor Lily. Kira watched curiously as the humans engaged in this ritual. It's called whiskey. Mary explained, noticing Kira's interest helps. Humans cope with shocking news. Probably would kill you though, given different biologies. Kira appreciated the woman's direct manner, so different from the careful diplomatic protocols of Xenoth interaction. I should check the ship's communication system, she said, rising from her seat. The command vessel will be looking for me when I fail to report. Outside the cabin, Kira accessed her ship's systems remotely. Multiple emergency signals were being broadcast from the Xenoth fleet. All scouts were ordered to return immediately to their carriers. A human military response had begun, faster and more coordinated than Xenoth intelligence had predicted. Kira reviewed the tactical data with growing concern. The humans had somehow detected the cloaked Xenoth command ships in orbit and launched countermeasures. The invasion was not proceeding according to plan. She returned to the cabin, finding the humans gathered around a device. Mary called. Radio reports were coming in about strange lights in the sky. Military mobilizations and government announcements urging Comet started, Jack said, seeing Kira. They know you're here, not just scouts. Now, Kira confirmed. The main invasion force is deploying. But something is wrong. The humans were ready. Defense systems are targeting our ships. Mary turned up the radio volume as a human voice described unidentified craft being engaged by military aircraft. Explosions visible from major cities. People were being advised to shelter in place away from population centers. Your people are fighting back, Kate observed. Mary's van rumbled along the narrow mountain road, its aged engine straining against the steep terrain. Kira sat in the back seat with Lily, while Jack rode in front with Mary. Kate had stayed behind at the cabin, monitoring the radio for updates on the invasion. The decision had been difficult, but someone needed to remain with their supplies and the scout ship in case a quick departure became necessary. Lily seemed fascinated by the journey, pointing out wildlife and landmarks to Kira with infectious enthusiasm. Look, a deer, she exclaimed as a brown animal with branching antlers crossed the road ahead. Deer are peaceful, they just eat plants and run away from danger. Are there deer on your planet? No, Kira replied. On Xenotha, all large animals were domesticated or eliminated centuries ago. Wildlife is considered inefficient, unpredictable. The only creatures that remain serve specific functions. That sounds sad, Lily said. Animals should be free to run and play like us. Kira considered this simple wisdom. Freedom was not a concept valued in Xenoth society. Order, control, purpose. These were the guiding principles that had shaped her civilization for millennia. But looking at the natural beauty surrounding them, the mountains, trees, flowing streams, all existing in harmonious disorder, she understood what might have been lost in the Xenoth pursuit of perfection. The research station appeared ahead, a collection of low buildings nestled in a clearing. The structures were designed to blend with the environment, their exteriors mimicking the colors and textures of the surrounding forest. Solar panels gleamed on the rooftops, catching the midday sunlight. Mary parked some distance away, The plan was simple. She would approach first, identify herself as a local resident bringing visitors. Jack would accompany her, introducing himself as a doctor, interested in the station's wildlife tracking systems. Kira, disguised in Mary's spare clothing, with a scarf covering her head, and large sunglasses hiding her 4 eyes, would follow, with Lily maintaining the pretense of a family outing before leaving the van. Mary turned to Kira. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "Even with the disguise, you're taking a significant risk." "I am certain," Kira replied. "I must contact the resistance faction within my species. They may be Earth's best hope for survival." The station appeared to be minimally staffed. Only 2 vehicles were visible in the parking area, and no humans could be seen outside the main building. As they approached the entrance, a sign identified the facility as the Alpine Wildlife Research Center, a joint project between the National Park Service and Western University. Inside, a single human female sat at a desk studying a computer screen. She looked up with mild surprise as they entered. Mary immediately engaged her in conversation, mentioning mutual acquaintances in the Park Service and local community. The researcher, Rebecca, according to her identification badge, relaxed visibly when Mary mentioned names she recognized. Jack stepped forward, explaining his interest in wildlife tracking technology for potential medical applications. The story was plausible enough that Rebecca offered to show him their satellite communication array, the very technology Kira needed to access. While Jack and Mary continued distracting Rebecca, Kira examined the facility. Scanning equipment lined the walls, displays showing animal movements across large territories, computers processed data from tracking devices attached to wildlife. The technology was primitive by Xenoth standards, but potentially useful if modified correctly. Lily stayed close to Kira, her small hand holding Kira's as they moved through the building. The child seemed to understand the need for caution, remaining unusually quiet, though her eyes darted curiously around the unfamiliar environment. Rebecca led the group to a separate room dominated by a large satellite dish visible through a window. The control panel was relatively simple, designed for human operation, but Kira could see how it might be adapted for her purposes. Jack maintained his role as the interested doctor, asking detailed questions about range capabilities and data processing. Rebecca clearly enjoyed sharing her expertise, explaining how the system could track migration patterns across continents. "I need to make a call," Mary announced casually. "Is there a restroom I could use?" Rebecca pointed down a hallway, second door on the left. She turned back to Jack, continuing her technical explanation. Mary caught Kira's eye and nodded slightly toward a side door marked Communications Auxiliary. This was the opportunity they had planned. Kira guided Lily quietly toward the indicated room, slipping inside while Rebecca remained distracted. The auxiliary communication room was unoccupied, filled with backup equipment and maintenance tools. Kira quickly assessed the technology available. It would be challenging to adapt these human systems to access the Xenoth network, but not impossible. Lily watched with fascination as Kira removed components from her disguise, small devices hidden in the clothing that contained Xenoth technology, capable of interfacing with almost any electronic system. "What are those?" Lily whispered. "Tools," Kira explained, connecting the devices to the human satellite controls. "These will help me talk to other people like me who want to help Earth." The human equipment resisted at first, circuits overloading as they encountered alien technology. Kira worked methodically, bypassing safety protocols, redirecting power, creating new pathways for the signals she needed to send. Warning lights flashed on the control panel, but she disabled them before alarms could sound. Lily stood watch by the door, peeking through the small window to ensure no one approached. Her serious expression reminded Kira of a miniature sentry. Despite her youth, the child understood the gravity of their situation. The equipment hummed as connections formed. Creating a secure channel to the Xenoth resistance faction required precise calibration. Kira inputted authentication codes from her scout training, then modified them with deliberate errors that would be recognized by anyone opposing the invasion protocol. A technique taught to all scouts as a last resort if captured and forced to communicate. Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, a response flickered across the improvised interface. Xenoth symbols appearing on the human screen. Authentication accepted. Identify Scout K437. Kira transmitted. Current status defected, seeking resistance coordination. The response came quickly. Scout K437 believed. Lost location compromised. Immediate extraction required. Transmit coordinates. Kira hesitated. This could be a trap. Loyal forces attempting to locate and eliminate a traitor. But the communication patterns matched resistance protocols she had detected earlier. Calculated risk was necessary in war before she could respond. Lily suddenly whispered someone's coming. Through the door window, Kira could see Rebecca approaching, looking confused, probably wondering about the power fluctuations in her equipment. There was no time for further communication. Kira quickly transmitted, shortened, coordinates indicating the general mountain region but not their specific location, then disconnected her devices and concealed them. The screen returned to its normal display, showing satellite tracking data for wildlife. The door opened. Rebecca entered, her expression suspicious. "What are you doing in here?" she asked. "This area is restricted." Lily answered before Kira could respond. "I needed the bathroom," she said innocently. "But we got lost. The doors look the same." Rebecca seemed uncertain, glancing. Between them and the equipment, Kira maintained her disguise, keeping her face partially turned away. "Did we do something wrong?" she asked, mimicking human speech patterns. She'd observed. Rebecca checked the control panel, finding everything apparently normal. "Just please don't wander into restricted areas," she said. "The bathroom's that way," gesturing toward the correct door. Kira nodded, taking Lily's hand and moving past Rebecca toward the hallway. Her hearts were beating rapidly beneath her disguise. Would the human notice anything unusual about the equipment? Had the transmission been received? Would the resistance respond? They rejoined Jack and Mary in the main room. Jack immediately sensed their tension and made excuses to leave, thanking Rebecca for the informative tour. As they walked toward the exit, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. "Emergency broadcast system," Rebecca explained, moving to a radio on the wall. Probably another update about the situation. She adjusted the controls, and a human voice filled the room. "Attention all citizens. This is an emergency alert. Unidentified aircraft have been detected throughout the region. Military authorities have issued shelter in place. Orders for all communities. Do not attempt to travel. Stay indoors until further notice. This is not a drill." Rebecca looked at them with new suspicion. "You should stay here," she said. "It's not safe to travel. Right now." Mary stepped forward, taking charge. Her years living in the mountains gave her words authority. "We need to get back to my cabin," she said firmly. "We have supplies there, emergency equipment. It's safer than being exposed here." She gestured toward the largely glass walls of the research center. Rebecca hesitated but nodded reluctantly. "Just be careful. The roads might not be safe." They hurried to the van, Kira constantly scanning the sky for signs of Xenoth craft. Once inside and moving, Mary asked, "Did you do what you needed to do?" "Partially," Kira replied. "I made contact, but was interrupted, I believe. They received our general location but not specific coordinates." Jack glanced back at her from the front seat. "Is that good or bad?" Both, Kira said. "The Resistance knows approximately where to find us, but so might Loyalist forces if they intercepted the transmission." 6 months had passed since the failed invasion. Winter had settled over the mountains, bringing snow and ice to the forest around Mary's cabin. The structure had been expanded with Xenoth technology, creating additional living space while maintaining its rustic exterior appearance. From the outside, it still looked like a simple wooden cabin, but inside portions now featured adaptive environments supporting both human and Xenoth physiological needs. Kira stood on the porch watching snowflakes drift from the gray sky. Her purple skin had darkened slightly, adapting to Earth's atmosphere and solar radiation. 4 eyes tracked a deer, moving cautiously through the trees, its breath forming clouds in the cold air. Such creatures still fascinated her, their wild, unpredictable existence so different from the controlled biological constructs of Xenotha. The door opened behind her, and Lily bounded out wrapped in a puffy winter coat hat and mittens. The child had grown taller over the months. Her recovery from pneumonia complete, her energy seemingly boundless. "Kira, it's snowing enough for a snowman," she announced, grabbing the alien's hand and pulling her toward the yard. "Can we build one like last time?" "Of course," Kira replied, allowing herself to be led across the porch and down the steps. Her boots crunched through the fresh snow, leaving distinctive prints beside Lily's smaller human footprints. The contrast still struck her as meaningful. Two different species walking the same path, they began gathering snow, rolling it into increasingly large balls. Jack joined them minutes later, bringing a carrot and pieces of coal for the snowmans. Face Kira observed how easily they had developed routines together, daily patterns of coexistence. That felt natural despite their profound differences. "The resistance remains in negotiations with Earth governments," Jack said as they worked. "The United Nations representatives are still struggling with the concept of a divided alien species. Some nations want all Xenoth removed from Earth. Others see potential benefits in diplomatic relations and technology exchange." Kira nodded. Earth politics remained confusing to her. The Xenoth governed through central authority, hierarchical and absolute. Human governance, with its competing interests, compromise, and regional variation, seemed chaotically inefficient. Yet she had come to appreciate its adaptability, its ability to accommodate diversity. "The Resistance Council has requested my input," again she told Jack. "They value my perspective as one who lives among humans. My experiences with your family have become something of a case study in interspecies cooperation." Jack smiled, helping Lily place the middle section on their snowman. "You could become an ambassador between our worlds," he suggested. Not bad for a former scout. The idea had occurred to Kira as well. Commander V789, now promoted to diplomatic liaison, had suggested as much during their last communication. The Resistance, having successfully halted the invasion, was now working to establish a new relationship with Earth, based on mutual respect rather than conquest. It was unprecedented in Xenoth history. Inside the cabin, Kate and Mary were preparing the midday meal, a blend of human food and synthesized nutrients for Kira. The aroma drifted outside, reminding Kira how her sensory experiences had expanded since coming to Earth. Taste, smell, touch, all had taken on new dimensions, new meanings. Lily had moved on to creating snow angels lying on her back and sweeping her arms and legs through the pristine white surface. Kira watched with amusement. The child approached everything with such joy, such openness. "Try it," Lily called, patting the snow beside her. "It's fun." Kira hesitated, then carefully lowered herself into the snow, mimicking Lily's position. The cold penetrated her protective clothing, creating unusual but not unpleasant sensations against her skin. She moved her limbs as instructed, creating wing-like impressions in the snow. When she stood and examined the result beside Lily's, she noted the differences. The child's angel was smaller, rounder, while hers was larger, with distinctive impressions where her secondary limbs had pressed into the snow. "They look like they're flying together," Lily observed. Kira considered the snow impressions. "Yes," she agreed. "Like different species sharing the same sky." The metaphor pleased her. In the months since the invasion attempt, much had changed throughout the solar system. The Resistance had established a base on one of Earth's moons as a gesture of transparency. The loyalist Xenoth forces had retreated beyond Mars, maintaining communication, but no longer presenting an immediate threat. The Empire itself was experiencing unprecedented internal conflict as news of the failed invasion and Resistance victory spread through Xenoth. "Controlled space, let's go inside for lunch," Jack suggested, noticing Lily's reddened cheeks from the cold. "Your mother will worry if we stay out too long." The cabin interior felt especially warm after the winter air. Kira removed her outer garments, hanging them carefully on hooks by the door. A human custom she had adopted. Kate and Mary greeted them from the kitchen area where steam rose from various cooking vessels. The meal would be shared as always, humans and Xenoth together at the same table. Another symbol of their integrated lives. The communication panel in Kira's private room activated its soft chime, indicating an incoming transmission from the Resistance base. She excused herself to answer it. Commander V789's image appeared on the screen. her purple features now familiar and welcome. "Greetings, Scout Kira," she said, using the simplified name Kira had adopted. "I bring news from the Diplomatic Council." Kira straightened instinctively, old habits of military protocol difficult to break entirely. "I receive your communication, Commander," she responded. "What news?" "The Earth United Nations has approved the technology exchange agreement," V789 reported. "Limited medical and environmental technology will be shared with human governments in exchange for cultural access and designated settlement zones for Xenoth scientists and diplomats. This represents significant progress," Kira noted. The humans had been understandably cautious about accepting Xenoth technology, fearing hidden agendas or harmful long-term effects. That they would now accept medical advances spoke to growing trust. "There is more," V789 continued. "The Council has appointed you as primary cultural liaison. Your experience living among humans makes you uniquely qualified to guide integration efforts." Kira had anticipated this possibility, but the reality still surprised her. "I have no diplomatic training." She pointed out I was designed for combat and reconnaissance. The commander made a gesture indicating dismissal of concerns. "Traditional qualifications are irrelevant in this unprecedented situation. Your ability to adapt to understand humans, to form genuine connections with them, these are the qualities needed now." The old Empire protocols no longer apply. Kira thought of the family in the next room. Humans who had accepted her, not as a representative of an advanced species, not as a useful ally, but simply as Kira, as a person worthy of connection. That acceptance had changed her more profoundly than any Xenoth training. "I will accept the appointment," she decided. If the human family agrees, their lives would be affected by her new responsibilities. Their input mattered. The commander acknowledged this condition with respect. Another sign of how far Xenoth thinking had evolved. The Resistance valued individual choice, family bonds, concepts once dismissed as irrelevant to imperial expansion after ending the transmission. Kira rejoined the humans at the table. The meal was underway. Lily chattering about her plans to build a snow fortress complete with towers and flags. Mary describing a new book she was reading. Kate and Jack exchanging glances of contentment. Ordinary family moments that Kira now recognized as extraordinary in their simple perfection. When the meal ended, Kira shared the news of her diplomatic appointment. The adults listened with interest, asking thoughtful questions about what such a role would entail. Lily seemed confused at first. "Does this mean you have to leave us?" she asked, her voice small. "No," Kira assured her quickly, placing a four-fingered hand gently on the child's shoulder. "I would remain here. This location would become my base of operations. I would travel sometimes for meetings, but this," she gestured around the cabin, "this is my home." The word home still felt new on her tongue. The Xenoth did not have homes, merely functional habitation units assigned based on rank and purpose. But this place with these people had become something different, something essential. The family discussed the implications. Kate expressing concerns about privacy if Kira became an official liaison. Jack considering the practical aspects of communications and transportation. Mary, typically practical, offered to expand the cabin further to accommodate any necessary equipment. "What do you want to do?" Jack asked finally. "What feels right to you?" The question would have been meaningless to Kira 6 months ago. Want was irrelevant in Xenoth society. Need, function, purpose, these determined actions, not personal preference. But now she recognized the importance of such questions. "I want to help create understanding between our species," she said, "to prevent another invasion attempt, to show other Xenoth what I have learned here. That cooperation is stronger than conquest. That difference can be valuable, not threatening." She looked at Lily, who was listening intently. "And I want to remain part of this family." "Then that's what you'll do," Kate said simply. "We support you." Mary raised her cup in a human gesture of affirmation. "Looks like we're going to be at the center of interspecies diplomacy," she said with a laugh. "Always thought this cabin was too quiet anyway."